and welcome to Ready to Heal. I'm your host, Betsy Sawyer Galen, and today we are going to talk to my guest, Dr. Lynn Parodneck, who calls herself a pot doctor, but her official title would be medical marijuana consultant. So thank you for coming today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to educate your audience about what this is all about.
And let me ask you a little bit about how you got started in this.
Sure. I was looking online. I have to do continuing medical education credits. This was a course. Looked interesting. So
And
I
what
took
was the course?
Medical marijuana. The different diseases, the different systems, the endocannabinoid system, how to balance things out, and how to treat medical problems with pot. So I took it, got my little certificate, visited the Vireo dispensary in White Plains, and said, I'm going to give it a go. And it's been great. I've been doing it about a year now, and it's really interesting. It's available for New York State residents. It's legal, and there's a lot that can be done.
So tell me a little bit about this, because I don't know a lot about this. I'm sure a lot of people don't. I know it's in the news all the time about medical marijuana and how it's kind of growing in acceptance. And I know it's a state-by-state thing.
Yes.
So where are we in New York in terms of, being progressive with this or whatever?
Well, the governor is allowing us to treat certain medical conditions, and it's a short list. It's 11 diseases, but it includes a lot of things. And the point is that medical marijuana works on the endocannabinoid system, which you have in your body.
And what does that mean?
It's a system. It's the same system that opioids work on. You have certain receptors, the medications go there, and you get your effect. So some people are even using pot to detox from opioid usage, which is pretty novel.
Is that working?
Yes, it is. I have a patient in hospice care who was on morphine. I get a phone call. He's not so sure about pot, but he wants to get off morphine, and could we do it? And I said, well, I need to see you, I need to see what you're on, and I need to see if you're willing to be compliant and if we could do this together. Because I can tell you what to do, but if you don't listen, it's a waste. So it took about 2 weeks, and he's now has no constipation, no nausea, little return of libido. He's 46, he has lung cancer, stage 4. He understands that he's going to die, but at least the end is going to be more bearable for him. And for him, it was just a very personal decision what he wants. When hospice came in May, they gave him a Tupperware box with morphine, all kinds of medications, basically said, this is what you have to do. He listened and he felt miserable. He felt worse from their drugs than the cancer.
Wow. Yeah, and so what about the marijuana? Like that, he's able to phase off of the morphine?
Yeah, we were able together to half the dosages, half, and then stop. He was using the medical marijuana, the capsules, to kind of keep a steady state, and he was able to stop, had very few detox signs. And now it's been 2 weeks, and he's feeling clear in the head, and he's feeling much better.
Wow, and that's in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, but he didn't take super high doses, and he only had started in May, so he was only on for a few months.
Uh-huh.
But it's definitely, this is in the works for other things too. There's a huge opioid epidemic here in Westchester, and this has been proposed as a way maybe to help it.
Uh-huh.
It's not on the approved list, so it's something that I think will be timely and will be really helpful.
Wow, so I have so many questions. I almost don't know where to start, but I think I'm going to start with this. On your card, we have a list of 10 qualifying conditions. So I will just read them. There's cancer, HIV or AIDS, ALS, Parkinson's, MS, spinal cord injury, epilepsy, inflammatory bowel disease and Crohn's disease, neuropathy. I don't know what that is. What is that?
nerve issues,
Nerve
nerve
damage.
pain, nerve damage. It's
So that's
kind
kind
of
of
a
like a
bucket.
big, yeah,
It's a
it's
big
kind of
gamut.
a big, area. Huntington's disease, and then you said there were also two more.
There's chronic pain.
There's
has
chronic
been approved,
pain.
and that's pain for 13 weeks or more. And PTSD has been approved in the government, and the governor has to sign the final paper. And Alzheimer's is in the pipeline.
So people with all of these conditions would be allowed and eligible to use this type of medication for their issue, correct?
Correct.
So, and when you're saying like neuropathy, and we're saying this is like a big, kind of like a big bowl full of conditions, I mean, what would count as neuropathy?
Patients coming in, they have different spinal cord kind of issues, all kinds of. What happens is I see patients who have diagnoses. I don't make the diagnosis, oh, you have neuropathy. I have patients coming in with letters from their primary physicians or specialists saying they have one of these things. Then we work with it. And what I do is I speak with the patient, we figure out what do they want out of the program, what's the underlying condition. The two main chemicals we work with are THC, which is the psychoactive part of marijuana, and CBD, which is the anti-inflammatory. Also, there are about 80 other small chemicals, terpenes, terpenoids, all kinds of variations of THC, and unknown, unnamed things, and we find we get an entourage effect. By using them together, the THC and CBD, you get a 2 + 2 = 5. You get a much better response than if you just had one chemical. For example, there's a THC that's synthetic. It's called Marinol, and it's often used for cancer pain, but it's a lot less effective than having medical marijuana where you have a little CBD in there and THC to help with that kind of pain.
Well, let me ask you a question. How does this, because it sounds like there are so many different variations, and how does this compare with somebody who's smoking a joint?
It's very, very different. Well,
very different.
On one level, it's very different. On the other level, it's kind of similar. In New York State, there's only 3 approved methods of delivery. There's the vape pen, there's oral capsules, and then there's an oil that you can put under the tongue, and oil that you put in foods for absorption. And that's it. No pot as we know it.
So is that like making, pot brownies, the stuff that you put under the tongue? I mean, is that
No.
the same?
Edibles are not legal in New York State.
It's
a patient has their stuff, it's their business what they do with it. What the card does, the certificate enables somebody to get a card. Then they go to the dispensary. I write the recommendations. They sit down with the pharmacist, go over what we came up together. I don't just say, okay, you have this disease, this is what you're going to get. I work with the patient's needs. Do they have sleep issues? Do they need, in the evening, something a little bit more sedative? Do they have an intense job that they can't really deal with THC in a psychoactive way? Just a touch to make the CBD work better. So it's really, everybody's different. Everybody responds very differently to these drugs. So it's a matter of working on it, being journaling, keeping track of what you're doing, and getting to that sweet spot. When the doses increase too much, patients complain that they felt better before. So what I do is I basically up it every week until we get to a place that it's a little too much, and then we go back, and that's
So
the
let
program.
me ask you this. What kind of acceptance is there with doctors? I'm sure I don't know how many millions of people have all of these conditions. And what kind of acceptance is there from doctors to put them on track to try this?
There's a lot of resistance. Doctors are accustomed to what they've learned in medical school, the mechanisms of action, how they work for specific diseases. This is a whole new ballgame.
Do they know about it? Is this something that's publicized to them?
They know it exists, but many don't want to learn about it because this is federally not legal. What the Trump administration has agreed to is that the states can continue to run their own medical marijuana programs. It's their decision if they want to get into recreational as well. Jeff Sessions does not like recreational. Initially, he was going to close down all the medical marijuana, and he's...
No, what are you saying? I need
Okay.
a little clarification, because you're saying two different things. Is recreation, you're saying
Recreational
recreational
is
use?
separate. The government does not like it, but certain states have enacted it. For example, Colorado. It's a huge business. It brings in so much revenue, taxation. Colorado's now 12-month-a-year vacation destination. They have hotels, what they call them, like Inns and Bud. You check in, and there's pot waiting for you in the room. Legally, they can't sell you pot, so it's sitting there for your use.
They can't sell it, but it's
The
legal.
hotels can't sell it, but they sell it everywhere. In Colorado, it's major. There's a ton of edibles available, gummy bears, gummy worms, brownies, cookies.
Wow.
It's a total... People go there and check out these dispensaries and what's there.
So now, wow, I have a lot of questions about this. So how is this being regulated? Is the quality of it being regulated?
Okay, if you purchase your goods at the dispensary is responsible for growing it, harvesting it, processing it, transporting it to its retail outlets. So they regulate it. There's certain percentages of THC, CBD. It's in New York State. I'm only talking about New York State because that's where I practice. It's organic, and you know exactly what you're getting. If you go on the street and buy some pot, it can be laced with ketamine or other additives. So at least if you do the dispensary route, you're assured you're getting what you paid for.
And now in the dispensary, do they sell like street type?
No, no
just
pot. Just the 3 acceptable modalities.
Okay.
So you go in, patient goes in, they have to have their certificate and their card with them. They sign in. It's a double locked door because the dispensary can only take cash and debit cards. So they wait a few minutes, the pharmacist meets them, and then they go in a little room, and he shows them specimens, not real product, but like what the capsules look like, what the jars look like, what the vape pen looks like, how to turn it on, how to hold it properly, and then the oils, what they're like, and the little syringe that you use to draw the oils up. The oils are helpful, but there's still some problems with seniors being able to manipulate the syringes. So there's a lot of work to be done to bring this up to par. But it's good. It's a great program, and it opens lots of doors for people with issues.
Right.
And there are people who really don't want what they're taking. They feel they're not being helped, and they would rather go with something that's their body's attuned to taking and try it.
Now, let me ask you about the insurance issue. Does insurance cover this? Does a person's standard
insurance
policy?
does not. Some insurance are starting to accept it.
Like,
can you
name any?
Yes, I was approached by Fidelis to handle a senior with cancer who's on hospice care. They will pay me to manage this person's medical marijuana. So I will be starting to work with her tomorrow. And she got my name from her neighbor. I did a consult with her. I've worked with her, and her friends met her and said, this is much better than what I'm getting. Contacted her insurance, and they called me. So there is change.
And what kind of, for a person who doesn't have insurance, what kind of an outlay would this be financially to try it?
Okay, it's variable. To see a qualified practitioner for a consult can range anywhere from $250 to $500. Then the products at the dispensary range from, the capsules are $94, the vape is about $94, and most patients start with 2 products. So worst case scenario, to start, it could be $450.
And how long does that hold a person? I mean, how long?
Depends on the person.
Supply?
It's, I can't say. It depends on
the
person.
It really depends on what they're dealing with. And
yes. And also if they're a prior smoker, because some people have been smoking pot since they're teenagers, and they have these medical issues, and they need a lot of pot to meet their pain requirements. Their body's accustomed to it. So it really is Each individual is
on the
different.
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You also in this list, and we were talking a little bit about this before. One of the things, one of the conditions that's qualifying is epilepsy, and I was saying to you, I'm not really aware of that much pain that goes with epilepsy, and you're saying that that isn't what you use it for in this case.
For the inflammation. There's a certain strain that's been developed by the Stanley brothers in Colorado that was used to treat a girl, Charlotte. The family moved from the east to Colorado so that they could work with this marijuana. And it's a CBD, very strong CBD, very minimal THC, and there are amazing videos how this girl responds. She is now seizure-free just by being on this product.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about you're saying some CBD and
cannabidiol.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for.
So tell me about the different aspects that they work with.
Okay, cannabidiol basically is an anti-inflammatory. So all the inflammatory diseases respond. Depression, anxiety responds to CBD. THC is used for pain, more for cancer pain and strong body pain. And it's a matter of balancing the two together to feel good.
Now, do they use these in other drugs too, or
No.
They're just unique to pot?
Right. And in New York
interesting.
State, CBD is legal. You can purchase it online, they can ship it to you, and it's all legal. And there's also CBD from hemp. What matters is actually the milligrams of CBD. It can be extracted from hemp plants or marijuana plants.
Oh, and now I understood they're cousins, right? They're similar.
Yes. And hemp was originally outlawed due to the cotton industry. Hemp is used for fiber,
right?
And all.
And I know it's in health food shakes or something, isn't it? I thought I saw it
and
in
Marley
my grocery
beverages.
Store. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's got a lot of uses. So if a person, say a person has, I'm just going to try to pull something out of the air, fibromyalgia. Does that fall under the neuropathy?
Yes, it
bucket?
falls under neurologic issues and pain.
So say a person is seeing their doctor and they have that, so what would be their next step?
Okay, well, their doctor may not think that marijuana is helpful. So their step is really to look online. There are a lot of websites. There's a non-for-profit NORML, which lists a lot of interesting information and research.
It's called NORML?
NORML. And they go state by state, what are the conditions, and what parts of the pot work for each condition.
Right.
And there are ways to find practitioners in your state. If you go through state websites, now New York State posts the practitioners that are doing this in New York.
Oh, and so this is just through that one website?
No, this is through the Department of Health. You can find practitioners through NORML. You find a lot of literature, a lot of studies, a lot of kind of scientific research that's documenting that this works.
So if you bring it up to your doctor and your doctor raises their eyebrows and suggests that you take whatever they have, then your next step could be to go to the
state registry. Right. Go to the state registry and see who's doing it close by. You shouldn't have to travel great distances. These people have real medical conditions, so it's hard.
Right.
I do house calls, there are people who can't leave their homes due to their medical problems.
Right,
Some people do Skype interviews. So it really depends on the physician and what they're comfortable with.
So how does a person find you?
I'm listed on the New York State Department of Health website. But now I see patients from local physicians who've referred. Their patients are happy. They keep sending. And then I see friends of friends, relatives. I had actually a family come to me, the grandmother, the mother, and the 30-year-old daughter who was a speech therapist.
Oh.
And the daughter was the one, this was her idea, and everybody in the family qualified.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So they each had health issues that qualified?
Right. They didn't know at the time. Actually, the daughter was suggesting for the grandmother, and the mother just wanted her mother to be better.
Yeah.
And they all actually were interested, but they all met the criteria. So, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And it's, for them, it's become part of their lives, which is really interesting, because the grandmother came from Rome about 75 years ago. She has a very heavy accent. She cooks a lot, and this has really helped her. And she used to torture her grandchildren for smoking pot in the house. This was like going to be a horrible sin for the family. And now she's
changed.
Yes.
That's very interesting. Well, and it makes sense. I mean, it's really getting a broader usage, and people are seeing what it's good for.
Yeah. And it's all about education. People really need to know this is available, it's legal, and what are the conditions that qualify, and that more things will be approved with time, because they're finding patients like this. It's working.
So if somebody, I just want to get like some idea of how this would work, and so I'm just going to come up with, a scenario. Like if somebody, say, you don't have heart issues, but maybe somebody has heart issues, would that work for them? And how often would they be able to choose if they were going to get something that they smoke or that they...
No smoke.
There's no smoke
no
at all.
smoke in New York.
Vape is
it's, what happens is it's a little oil, and it gets heated up in the vape pen, and you ingest it. It goes in the lungs, but it's
not called smoking? Oh, okay.
No, it's called vaporizing, because the oil's in a vapor material.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So no bud. It will be no bud.
Right. Well, so ingest or eat, or do people get to choose?
Yes, the patients.
Their method?
Absolutely. That's what's really nice about this program. Some patients like pills, others never want to see another pill in their life.
Right.
And it's also figuring out a daytime dose, a nighttime dose. Some patients they do a little vape in the evening, and they use the syrup to kind of get them a prolonged sleep. They also keep the vape around in case they wake up in the middle of the night in pain, take a puff or two, back to sleep.
And so can they cook with the oil? You said they could do whatever they want.
They could do whatever they want.
And
it's
is
not
that
my
effective?
business.
Is that an effective thing?
Well, you have to know what you're doing when you do the edibles. You have to do it under certain conditions and process it correctly. You have to heat to certain temperatures for it to be effective. I don't know how to cook. I know how to use a toaster oven, so not for me. And there's also balms and creams. Patients who have pain, there are CBD over-the-counter creams available, which they can use, and people with arthritis like it. So there's a lot out there.
So people do not know this information at all.
And the major chains don't carry this stuff, but private, small family pharmacies are doing it. For example, Katona Pharmacy has a line of CBD products, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's progressive. And so, but the major chains don't do that right now?
No, they're not. I think eventually they will, but right now, no.
Interesting. So you started to tell me a little bit about some cases. Are there any cases that you've had where people have had a profound healing experience from this?
Yeah, I have an artist who's 48 who has arthritis and was just not able to go into her studio. She couldn't paint, and that's her life. She goes around the world painting murals. She has a studio on her property, and she felt really, really distanced from life, not being able to do her thing.
Right.
So we started her program. She feels better. She's going to do a workshop in California this summer, and she'll be painting in Europe in the fall.
Wow.
And she feels more energized. She feels clear. She's planning ahead Christmas break. And she was really living life on a 1-week block. And now, it's been a game changer.
So this helped with her inflammation and her pain?
Yes, and also with how she felt. She's not depressed now. All the anxiety is kind of subsided because she can do her creative outlet. And she's also been able to kind of, like little things in life, getting her son to school. She's going to be away. She's able to ask somebody, help me with my son, where in the past she would just kind of melt down and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. She'd say to her husband, how are we going to get him to school? Maybe I shouldn't go. And now she's just
got her life
focused, back. And has her life back. He's happy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. I wanted to ask you too, does this type of treatment more, you said Colorado, yes, this is, how long has it been going on there? And are there other countries where this is accepted and done more regularly?
In Israel, they do an amazing amount of research. They're in the process of making recreational marijuana legal. In Holland, they have the coffee shops in Amsterdam. That's been around forever. You go in, you have a cup of coffee, you buy a brownie, and they list the different ingredients, and it's all pot brownies. So there's a lot of social norms. There's a lot of resistance here.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to change. Now they're making sugars with THC out west that you want your tea in the morning, okay, have your dose of THC in the sugar, you have your nice tea. There's syrups that have concentrated have the THC and a flavor, pomegranate, lemon, add your seltzer, and you have a drink. And they're predicting in the future it's not going to be only alcohol at bars. You're going to be able to get pot drinks.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any downsides to taking this? Or any?
There's no toxic dose, but people can get too much pot makes people sleepy and not out, and that's why it's important they're not driving.
Yeah.
And that they use a little sense with this. But they're not going to end up overdosing. They're going to end up falling asleep.
Wow. Well, we are running out of time, but I wanted to, it goes so quickly. I want to thank you again for being my guest today. And how do people get in touch with you?
I have a website with my name. They can call me. They can text me. My phone number is 914-525-6536. My email is, I'll give you my personal one, swest9253@gmail.
And there may be one on the screen also.
Okay.
Okay.
And I also answer questions. If I try to help people, that's my job. It's not just seeing everybody who calls, because that's not fun for me.
Wonderful. Thank you again. And this is Betsy Sawyer Galen saying thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.